So a pregnant woman went to Blacktown Hospital last Wednesday because she had to remove her unfortunately dead unborn child from her womb. And then when she shows up, they have some kind of an administrational error that leads them to tell her they have no free theatres, she needs to go home or wait. And then what happens?
Are we talking about Australia?
Yeah, this is in Australia. She actually miscarried.
But this isn't the first time this kind of thing happens, so I don't know why we're that surprised.
I think the health system is under scrutiny at the moment.
She was supposed to have surgery and she just miscarried right there because they didn't cater for her. I think that's ridiculous. But it also leads me to think about how much Julia Gillard has been in the news over this past week with regards to health reforms. She's proposed a completely new one to the health reform plans that Kevin Rudd had brought in just before he was unseated
in a nice way
from his prime ministerial position. But yes, she's brought in a new plan, and I haven't actually looked at it in detail, but I think it's important that we do. We really need a good health plan out there so that we can stop things like this from occurring.
Yeah, definitely. We do. I think in Australia, we have a lot of avenue for discussion and debate in issues of public health and things that matter to the public a lot. So I think our audience should have a look at that and, send in their comments.
The What Factor.
Well, in other news, it seems that the term arranged marriage has taken a different meaning in America. It's taken on the Islamic matrimony speed dating meaning. This organisation called Millennials has set about organising speed dating conventions. And participants have come from all over America, from Ottawa, from Texas, and basically there's a ticket involved. It's $120 and you get a few dozen 5-minute dates. Now we're not talking about like tamar, the one we eat in Ramadan. We're talking about like dates. You get a buffet of chicken curry and biryani, just to give you that
coated
boost
in saffron, and
just so you examine your potential to see if they actually know how to pray or not. They actually give you a adhan break
to pray afternoon prayers.
Now, this is halal, brace yourself, the haram police out there.
Yeah, don't worry, their parents are actually sitting and observing it all.
Who comes up with this stuff?
How awkward.
No, well, this, you know what, you could see where it's coming from, because apparently this businessman called Mr. Baig, he would have clients that come in, and amongst, financial transactions, they'll always complain about how there's no one suitable for their children. So Mr. Baig, being very bagy and kind-hearted, said, you know what, how about we have a convention where we get these people to actually mix and in a supervised environment, and they actually try to minimize the fitna. What they actually do is they get the sisters to sit down and the men rotate amongst the sisters, and I think this is a different way, but the funny thing is there's always more women than the men. I wonder why.
Oh, wonder no longer. The men go back to their countries of origin to find some nice, docile, obedient.
Oh, definitely.
But that's so wrong. I mean, remember that movie, Pride and Prejudice? No life
if
without
they
wife.
go back to Egypt now to find someone, I don't think she'll have very,
revolutionary women
sentiments. She'll be more of a revolutionary. Well, good for these people, and inshallah we hope they go well,
Yeah, and if anyone out there is trying to find a wife, maybe just go visit a stockbroker. You might just have a woman
leave muslimanikah.com alone, please.
And try out the matrimony speed dating service.
The Why Factor.
Speaking of marriage, there's been a landmark court case in Japan where 4 Japanese men and a woman have filed against a 19th century law which compels couples to actually change their last name. And these people are basically, going with liberal notions, saying we don't want to change our last name, especially the women, don't compel us to do that. It has faced some opposition from the conservative end of the spectrum, saying, it's family values, it keeps the family bonded in terms of having the same name and things. So that's really interesting.
But Islamically, women are not required to change their surnames when they get married, and Islam is all about protecting family values. So if Islam thinks it's okay, then I have to say I don't think it's going to mess up any family values at all.
Well, we're talking about Japan here, love. So unless they decide to
about the
run their case on Sharia grounds. I definitely agree, yeah.
Actually, since we are on international topics at the moment, there's this really interesting story out of the UK where a mother was having troubles with her teenage son who didn't seem to listen to anything she said. So she was like, you know what? I'm sending you back to the homeland, which for them happened to be Nigeria. So she sends
Sounds
the kid.
like an Arab.
She sends the kid back to Nigeria, where his dad lived, so that he could have a firm hand in raising him and go back to their traditional roots and whatnot. And then the court kind of ordered for them to return the child to the UK because he's a British citizen. And the parents couldn't produce him because the son's apparently gone missing.
Maybe he got married.
Maybe.
Well, apparently there was a rumour that he was being forced into a marriage. So according to UK laws, there's some sort of a protection order for forced marriages. That's why they wanted to bring him back.
He got forced into marriage in Nigeria.
They were saying there is a possibility of that. Yeah, but the fact that he's gone missing means that his parents haven't been able to produce him in the UK to the court, so they're being held in contempt of court, and the mother is in jail for 8 months.
Oh, wow.
I think this is a
warning for the parents out there trying to send their
trouble.
troubled D10 puberty kids back to where they came from.
Back to Africa.
The Y Factor.
It seems like the days of Mortine are over. You can literally turn your living room into a Venus flytrap. Actually, that would be metaphorically, not literally.
Well, people have now made this living room, which contains a clock that can eat your flies or catch your flies, a lampshade which controls the pests, and a table which eats mice.
All in one hungry living room. Wow, that's amazing. If you're into your self-sufficient furniture, then I guess this is...
Or you're just like, you have a huge fear of insects, this is your dream.
Well, in other good news for our intellectually challenged audience, if there might be any, Australian scientists are actually developing a revolutionary thinking cap. Now, think back to primary school when, the teacher would ask you what's 4 times 12, and you went all yellow and you started shivering, and she goes, excuse me, put your thinking back on. Well, this is literally become... it's become real. This is a cap which it stays on your head through a strap, and it's actually got 2 conductors, and studies have shown that there's actually a significant boost in arithmetic in people that actually wore this cap. Now they're still working on it.
Wait, so it makes your maths better?
Can you just imagine all these little kindergartners with these huge thinking caps on?
And it's actually interesting because you've got roads, and then it's actually like it conducts electricity. And so I'm not sure about the safety of it, but thinking cap.
Wow, all
Right
those primary
ideas.
teachers are going to finally be vindicated.
We'll be right back after this song from Maher Zain. Stay tuned, you are listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.